Lorwyn Eclipsed is here, and you need to know what to craft. Wildcards are a precious commodity. We don't want to go ahead and waste them. We're going to talk about the top 5 can't miss cards that you can go ahead and feel really secure about crafting right now. We're also going to talk about the top 5 budget options that you can go ahead and craft with common and uncommon wildcards. And then at the end, we're going to talk about the top 5 cards that are getting a lot of hype, but maybe you want to just keep on the back burner for now. Not saying they're not powerful, they certainly are, but maybe the shell's not ready, maybe it's just not the time for it. So maybe those we'll wait on. But one of the cards that you're not going to wait on are the shock lands. In Lorwyn Eclipse, we're getting the other 5 shock lands to finish the set of lands that were started in Edge of Eternities. These are the original shock lands. So Steam Vents here, this is a land that has the type both island and mountain. This is really important for the Verge lands that are also in Standard. And what's really important is that they can come into play untapped anytime that you choose. It does come at the cost of 2 life. When you can pay it, and it'll come in untapped every single time. When you can't afford to play it, you still can have this land come in. It'll just enter tapped. So at the beginning of the game, you can have it entered untapped and get your cards going out right away. If the metagame shifts and it's very aggro and you have to save every single life point, then you can have this come in tapped so that you can save some of that life. But the real key here is that you are in control. It's not outside of your control. You get to make that decision in the moment of the game that you are playing. And so that's why this is a top card to craft. Now, for newer players, we might not all understand that the lands are this important, but I assure you, if you play long enough, you will absolutely see that these lands are critical to the consistency of your deck. There's certain decks in the format, I'm thinking about like Sultai Reanimator, where you want to hit that reanimation spell on turn 4 every single time. If it comes up on turn 5, if it comes up on turn 6, you're already so far behind the 8 ball. If you've watched this channel, you know the video that I'm referring to. We've had that happen to us time and time again. Consistency is the key for long-term Magic success. And if you're going to play this game for the next couple of years in Standard, you absolutely want the shock lands. So that is a set of 5 cards, 4 copies of each. That's already 20 wild cards. Don't let that get you down or get you scared. It's just something that you're going to need to have. You can either craft them now or you could craft them when you're building the decks. But if you plan on playing a variety of decks in Standard, this is as sure of a bet as can be. The next card we're going to talk about is also really a sure bet. This is Vibrance. And now when you look at this card as a new player and you just say like, hey, is this a creature or a sorcery? It is not 100% obvious that it is technically kind of a sorcery wrapped up as a creature. So let's go ahead and go through this now. This is 5 mana, so 3 of anything and red-green or red-green for a 4/4. When it enters, if you pay double red to cast it, it deals 3 damage to any target. That's not just creatures, that's also to the face. If this creature enters and you played green-green to cast it, you can search your library for a land, put it into your hand, and then gain 2 life. Now, it has an evoke cost. So evoke means you can go ahead and play it and get the creature out immediately, but then you have to go ahead and sacrifice it. So for red, you could deal 3 damage to any target at sorcery speed. So it's a sorcery speed lightning spear, right? With the caveat that you have to pay red for it. So it's a removal spell for 2 mana in the mono red decks. That can be a creature if you need it to be later on in the game. If you are playing Gruul, something like the breakout decks or something there where you can take advantage of both sides of it, it becomes even more powerful. But most people are just going to be playing this as 2 mana, deal 3, sorcery speed. But if you need it later in the game for some reason, you need to get a creature out, you can always go ahead and pay for it as a 4/4 creature. That right there is already good enough. You never have to spend green on this at all. If this format becomes super aggro heavy and the 2 life becomes really important, if you want to run this in some kind of ramp deck where you're going ahead and you're searching for a land card, it's not going onto the battlefield. It is going into your hand, but it's any land card, right? So it's not just a basic land card like you might get off of something like an Evolving Wild, right? So you could go get a specialty land card if you need it. Both modes are really good. The fact that you get both of them on the creature is even better. For 5 mana, if you spend 3 red late game for a mono red deck, you're going to get a 4/4 creature and additional still deal that 3 damage to any target. So big time card. It's going to be around the whole entire time it's in standard. Absolute lock. I know it's a mythic, and so all the mythics are a little scary when you're a new player and you just don't have that many of the wild cards, but this one is a lock. You'll be playing it quite a bit. Next card is Emptiness, and it's a part of the same cycle here. This is 6 mana with white, black, and if you pay double white, you can go ahead and return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. If you paid black mana, you could put 3 -1/-1 counters on up to the target creature, and then it has the evoke cost. So for black, this is a removal spell. Put 3 -1/-1 counters onto target creature. If you get all the way up to 6 mana and you can pay it with 2 generic white, black, you get to do both options, right? And so you're getting a 3/5, you're getting back another 3 manas worth of a creature coming out, and you're also getting that removal spell. This is the kind of card that goes into your deck as a removal, and it also has the upside that later on down the road, you might need it as a creature. Very similar to Vibrance. This card is going to be there. It's going to be there for a long time. It will be a big player in Standard. Go ahead, craft them now. You'll be using them the whole entire time. Next up, if there was a mascot for Lorwyn, this is the most Lorwyn of the Lorwyn-y cards out there. This is Figure of Fable, a callback to Figure of Destiny. This is a green or white 1 mana hybrid card for a 1/1, and it's a Kithkin. So watch the progression of this card. It starts as a 1 mana 1/1. This would probably mainly go into a mono white kind of shell, just so that you know as we go through these steps. So 1 mana for a 1/1, you pay 1 additional mana and it becomes a 2/3. Then on another turn you could pay an additional 3 mana, it becomes a 4/5. And then if you pay a total of 6 mana, it becomes a 7/8 with protection from each of your opponents, right? And so these kind of cards, you don't want to sink too much mana into these cards only to get beaten by a removal spell after you put all of your mana in. But the protection from your opponents makes it that much more intriguing. Once you get all the way to the end, you need to have an answer to it before it gets there. Otherwise, this is going to take over the game. This is a really good, evocative card for Magic's history. I think it's a great card, and you can feel secure in crafting it. This will be part of some mono white strategies going forward. A mana sink later on, a 1/1 or a 2/3 early in the game where you'll be doing most of your attacking, but it does have that threat of activation later on in the game. And the last of the can't miss cards, this is going to be Bitterbloom Bearer. So this is black for a 1/1 with flash and flying. So already you can imagine this in a black controlling deck. You could also imagine this in something like a blue-black flash deck or a fairies deck. A lot of possibilities with this card. 2 mana for a 1/1 flash and flying. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and you make a 1/1 blue and black fairy creature token with flying. So it's Bitter Blossom, but on a creature Flash is really important because you can go to end step, flash this in, and immediately untap and go to your upkeep and get that first token. So there's always a chance to get that token before your opponent has a chance to kill it, and then you'll just get the value. It does mean that if you are making additional tokens, your type of control deck is a little different. You're not going to be doing something like board wipes, right? With Bitter Blossom, you could have it on the battlefield, wipe the board, and you'll start getting new creatures out. This one would die to your own board wipe, right? So you do have to be a little bit more careful on how you build this control deck. But with Convoke coming out as a major theme in Lorwyn Eclipsed, I'm sure there's going to be things to do at instant speed with these extra bodies on the battlefield if you have them, and that will be a shell of a deck that you could go ahead and get built with this. It could just be a 1/1 to help block and you're only losing 1 life, saving yourself some life points if you're going up against something like mono red. A lot of players see this lose 1 life and think that your life will be going down. It's going to be going down slower because you're going to be losing 1 life and then having your 1/1 block their 2/3 or their 3/3, right? And you're going to be, in essence, gaining some extra time and some extra tempo. And so hopefully you'll be able to take care of their creatures by the time that really ends up mattering. Those are the top 5. That was a lot of rares and mythics that we talked about that you could feel really secure about crafting right away. Let's go into some cards lower on the rarity scale that you will be seeing in standard upcoming. And the first one here is Unexpected Assistance. This is 5 mana for an instant. Draw 3 cards and discard a card. Not the greatest rate for that effect right now, except it also has Convoke. So we just talked about having extra creatures on the battlefield in a kind of blue-black control-y flash shell. Well, with this card, you can go ahead and tap each of those creatures to pay for 1 generic of this mana cost. So this can cost 2 blue mana and tapping 3 creatures in order to draw 3 cards and discard a card at the end of a turn where you didn't do anything else that control decks like to do, like counterspell, like use removal. So this card will definitely be out there in a flash or control shell, and I think it's worthwhile right now for 4 common spots. If you're playing for any length of time, you'll have plenty of common wild cards. So this is something that you could go ahead and pick up right now. I think it's going to be in quite a few shells, especially if Dimir or Esper go this direction. Another card that we are going to talk about is Dose of Dawnglow. This is 5 mana to return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. Then if it isn't your main phase, Blight 2. That means put 2 -1 counters on a creature you control. Note that it doesn't have to be the creature you're returning to the battlefield. It just has to be on any creature you control. And this is a card that can go right into the Simic the Sultai or the 4-color Reanimator shells. Some of those decks use Zombify, which is 4 mana for a sorcery speed effect. This is 5 mana for that same effect. If you do it at sorcery speed, nothing else happens, but you can do it at instant speed, giving you the choice. If somebody attacks into you, you can go ahead and flash in a creature as a blocker. You do have to put the 2 -1/-1 counters, but assuming that doesn't matter too much, this card is a straight upgrade because you have control. You can just play it straight as a sorcery and you never have to think about the blight counters, but you do have the ability there. So I think this is going to be an inclusion in those Sultai lists. It will be in multiples on some of the budget versions of that Sultai list, right? But it will be there for sure. And for an uncommon wild card, I think it's a great pickup for you to go ahead and grab right now. The next card we're going to talk about is Appeal to Erdu. This is 4 mana, and it also has Convoke, so you can tap creatures that you control. And 1 or 2 target creatures you control get +2/+1 until the end of turn. So this would be in a mono-white aggro or mono-white token strategy, right? You would use tokens that just entered the battlefield for the Convoke, and then you would go ahead and play this card for 1 or 2 mana to give 2 creatures +2/+1, especially if you have any flyers. There is a mono white Angels deck that's hanging around right now that would love to get that that power boost from a spell like this. It also gives some toughness, and so you can find yourself in positions where you have something and your opponent is playing something like a fire magic, where you might just need 1 more toughness to get 2 of your creatures out of range, and this Appeal to Erdu is definitely something that can be there. The mono white aggro deck right now is a budget friendly deck, and I think this will slide in there nice and easy. For a common wild card, I think it's definitely worth a try. Next up is Seer, and Seer is a very simple card. This is 2 mana for an instant speed, deal 4 damage to target creature or planeswalker. You can go ahead and hit creatures and planeswalkers, not just creatures like some of the other removal spells do. And the rate of 2 mana for 4 damage is really good. Think about what you're paying on a Burst Lightning to do 4 damage. Here you're paying much less, with the idea that you can't go to the face with this. This is only for creatures. So if this card is in main boards or sideboards or maybe boards, not 100% sure where that's going to end up. Depends on how important the 3 and 4 toughness spot is for creatures, but you'll definitely want to have the access to 4 copies of this over the course of the next couple of years. So Seer fits in with a lot of the other red deck wins strategies, whether it's the aggro side, a little less on the burn side because you can't go to the face, but the ability to hit planeswalkers is a big upgrade, and so this will be around. You could feel secure in crafting it right now. The last card we're going to talk about is also in those mono red strategies, and this is Boulder Dash. So this deals 2 damage to any target and 1 damage to any other target. And please note, you can't target the same creature 2 times, right? So if you have a creature with 3 toughness, you can't use this as a removal spell 1 for 1 with that creature. But some important cards like Badger Mole Cub have 2 toughness, and that 1 extra point of damage can go ahead and hit the land that became earthbended, so that it will no longer be a creature. It'll go back to just being a land. It won't destroy the land, but it will go back to being just land. This is going to go immediately into sideboards. I'm not going to be surprised if we see it in some main decks. This is great to hit like a Drunith and then hit a Llanowar Elf. Additionally, get an early 2 for 1. This will kill 2 Otter tokens, right? Dealing 2 damage to one and 1 damage to the other. This will kill a Gran and an Otter token. So this is going to see play. The question is how much is going to be main deck, how much is going to be sideboard. I can't really tell you the answer of that right now, but go ahead, grab 4 copies at the low cost of an uncommon wild card. You will be playing this over the next couple of years. And that was the commons and uncommons, the budget options that you should be thinking about crafting right now. Now we're going to move into some cards. We have a list of 5 here of cards that you may want to wait on. I'm sure the comment section is going to light up when we start looking at these cards. They're all powerful and they're all good. Otherwise, they wouldn't even be mentioned on the video. But cards that just don't necessarily have a shell right now. First up is Deceit. And when we look at this card, we looked at Vibrance and Emptiness earlier, and we talked about the flexibility. This has the same flexibility, but the abilities are just a little bit off, right? So it is 6 mana, 4, and then blue, black, for 5/5. If you paid blue, then return up to 1 target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If you played black, look at your opponent's hand, choose a non-land from it, and then exile that card. Or both, if you ended up paying 2 generic blue, black for this 5/5. It also has Evoke, so you can use this card for either option. You can use it as black, look at your opponent's hand and exile a non-land card. We're kind of used to getting that effect for 1 mana with some kind of restriction on it. Or blue for an unsummon effect, which we're also used to getting for 1 mana. And so these abilities, they don't necessarily line up. When you play it for a creature and you get all the abilities out there, right? You're going to do well. 6 mana for a 5/5 and bounce a target, and once it's bounced, look in their opponent's hand and then discard the non-land from it. That makes sense, but I'm not sure there's a deck right now that would go all the way up to 6 mana that isn't a control deck that doesn't have better options, right? The mirror control mill deck is looking to mill half your library by the time it gets to 6 mana, and we're not looking to just play a 5/5 creature with no ability once it's on the battlefield. So I may be proven wrong on this one. It is a really good card, and I'm not saying that it won't show up. I'm just saying it doesn't look like it has a shell on day 1, and so this is one that I would go ahead and favorite and say I'll come back to it as soon as I need it, but one that I would not be crafting immediately. Another one that I really want and I want to like, and I hope that it ends up making a deck sometime in Standard, but I am going to hold off on it, is Ashling's Command. This is 5 mana, 3 red and blue to choose 2. Create a token that's a copy of a target elemental you control. Target player, sorry, I was going to say you draw 2 cards, but target player draws 2 cards, assuming it's going to be you 99% of the time. Deal 2 damage to each creature a target player controls, or target player creates 2 treasure tokens. So in a control deck, if you are not under a lot of pressure, this could be draw 2 and create 2 treasure tokens. What's good about it is if you end up playing something with counter spells, maybe those 2 treasure tokens can go ahead and cast a counter spell on the next turn or on that same turn if the need be. Deal 2 damage to each creature your opponent controls by the time you're up to 5 mana. That seems a little bit like the game has progressed beyond that point. Maybe it's there in case, you know, the Otters deck continues to be everywhere and you can go ahead and sweep up little creatures. Something like the Simic aggro deck, you'll already have +1/+1s on your creatures by that time and the 2 damage won't be there. If there's an elemental deck and the copying the making the token is really important, that could spell this card being amazing, but it's just not there right now. Hold off on crafting this card. It might be good, but just not right now. Next up we're going to talk about is Sig, Wanderwine Wisdom. So this is a 2 mana 2/2 that can't be blocked. Whenever this creature enters or transforms, target creature gets, whenever this creature deals damage, draw a card. At the beginning of your first main, you can pay white to transform it, and if you do, you also still have this 2/2 that can't be blocked, but whenever it transforms, target creature you control gains protection from each color until next turn. And then at the beginning of your first main, you can pay blue and you can transform it back. So you're going to be doing this dance of flipping this every single turn using one of the mana, where really, most of the time, don't you just want it to be a 2/2 unblockable and draw a card, right? You're almost forced to attack with this every turn because you just want to draw the cards as much as possible. And so while it says it can't be blocked, in essence, it also kind of says it can't block, right? Because what are you going to do? How are you not attacking with this? You don't have to target itself. So when you go ahead and give something protection, you can give a different target creature you control protection and attack with that creature and this creature so that you can get this like aggro swing in there. If there is a Merfolk deck that can take advantage of those kind of swings, that would be great. So far, a lot of the Merfolk that I've seen, the power has not been huge, specifically the attacking power, right? And so having one individual card attacking isn't necessarily as good as having the whole swarm of them attacking. So could there be a Merfolk deck? Certainly, but hold off on this one right now. I think it's a good card. I wish it was 2 mana for a 2/2 that can't be blocked and just draws a card every single turn, because we all know that's what we all want to be playing, right? We all want to be drawing these these cards. Next up, we have High Perfect Morcant. This is 4 mana for a 4/4, good rate. Whenever this or another elf you control enters, each opponent blights 1. So the opponent has to put a -1/-1 counter on one of their creatures. Then it has the ability, you can tap 3 untapped elves you control and proliferate, although you can only do this as a sorcery. So the idea is if you have elves laying around, you can go ahead and play this card, make your opponent put a 1/1, then tap 3 elves that you control, including this, right? Because while this one can't tap for herself, that ability can tap her. So it's this and 2 other elves, and proliferate that 1/1 counter into -2/-2, hopefully killing whatever creature is on there. The problem is those elves now can't attack. And so if you're using this to take away a blocker, you're also taking away an attacker to be able to get in there and do that attack. So it is a good card. If there is a mid-rangey elf deck out there, more power to it, but I would assume that most of the elf decks end up either being a swarm deck or a big mana ramp deck that has some kind of finisher that is going to finish the game off a lot quicker than this one. So hold off on this one, but it is something to consider. Home stretch here, the last card that I think you should hold off on crafting. This is Urdu, Carrier of Dawn. Another really good card, but does it have a home, right? 5 mana for a 5/5 flying lifelink creature is already awesome. Creature spells you cast have Convoke. Except it's already 5 mana, right? So how many creatures do you have in your hand, and why didn't you cast them before you got to 5 mana, right? So is this like a big ramp enabler, getting even larger creatures out there? I'm not 100% sure what that Convoke can do. At the beginning of your first main, which includes the main that this enters, if you have another mana, but now all of a sudden it costs 6 to do this, right? You can play black, and if you do, you transform Urdu. And now it's still a 5/5 flying with lifelink, but now non-token creatures you control have Persist. And that is, if it dies and it has no -1/-1 counters, you bring it back to the battlefield with -1/-1 counters on it. During the beginning of your first main, you can also pay white to flip this back, although I'm not sure you really want to, unless you drew something that you didn't have in the previous turn, and now all of a sudden you need to Convoke in order to play it. Basically, this is going to be a 6 mana flyer that gives all other non-tokens you control Persist. But it doesn't have an enter the battlefield ability, so if this dies, it's not coming back a second time, and all it's doing is kind of setting up future turns for yourself. Again, at 5 mana, it's just a little too expensive. In Limited, this is an all-time classic bomb. You're going to love it. You're going to play it. It's going to be amazing. In Constructed, I just don't see it right now. It is powerful, and so if there is a deck out there that can take advantage of having -1/-1 counters attached to their own creatures, then this becomes something where you can swing in. But again, you're giving your opponent the choice on whether they want to block or not to kill your creatures. There's just too many moving pieces on this. I will be happy if I'm wrong. I think the card is really cool, but it's just not the type of card that I really see having a lot of play right now in Standard with the speed of the format that we have. So there you go. There's 5 cards that I'd say you definitely want to wait on. We had 5 cards that were budget friendly that you could go ahead and craft right now. And then we had the can't misses, which were the Shocklands, Vibrant, Emptiness, the Figure of Fable, and the Bitter Bloom Bearer. Still working on all the names of the new set, as I'm sure you guys are also. Let me know what you think. Are there any cards that you are dying to craft on the day one? Is there any cards that you think other people are crafting that you would like to have people hold off on? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this kind of content, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. We post videos out 3 times a week, so subscribing is the best way to make sure that you never miss an upload, because we got a ton of content out there. And if you really like this channel and want to take your support to the next level, consider joining our channel membership. We have exclusive member-only videos. We have member-only polls that really guide the direction of the channel. We also have a community Discord where we take these discussions even further and really help up your game. And so if you'd like to consider joining that channel membership, we'd love to have you there. Until next time, have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.